All right, so here we are on the side of the car, and we're gonna go ahead and start removing some of the trim bolts. You'll have to trust me on this one, it's a little dark in there, but there is one just way up here. All right, and now that we're on the top side, we are going to remove this weather stripping, and then that should expose some of our bolts underneath that are on the top. Put this off somewhere safe. Is we're going to throw down a sheet or two underneath, even though we have some pads under here, just so that we can sort of lay the bumper down before we move it over to the cleaning station, because we are going to have to disconnect some of the got our fog light here, which is just a 2-connector squeeze, and that comes off. And then one of the clips from the top just fell down. That's fine. Looks like this one here, but over here. Gentle reminder. That's our bumper off. And then we'll get the last of the fog light clip here. Perfect. And then our bumper should just come away from the car. And that is that. Now that the front bumper is off, let's go ahead and see if we can find that little clip that fell down. There it is. Next what we're going to do is save some of the parts off our original bumper, including the fog lights. These are just held in by two T25s. We'll go ahead and remove those first. In order to get our nose cone, just gently pry up and push down. We're going to save this because we'll also need to transfer it over. So we're going to go ahead and remove our kidney grills. And these are done by just gently pushing on tabs. All right, that's the first one out. Just gently put that here. Perfect, and that's the second one out. I wonder if it's just easier to buy a new roundel for a new bumper. I'm gonna guess that that's actually the case. All right, well, as you can see, the sun has gone down and we have made little progress. So we're actually gonna start routing our wiring to the REM, or rear electronics module. We're gonna wanna position the sensor housing down by the fog light, which is just down here, and then we're going to snake the wiring up and then through the firewall. In order to access the firewall, we're actually going to take off the cowl that has the positive battery terminal. We should reveal just a couple grommets where we can sneak the wiring through. So with that, these are just 10 mil half turns, nothing crazy here. There's just 3 of them, and then one small plug to just pull up here. Once we have those done, we'll just gently lift up and just remove that. All right, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to start to route our cable from the front bumper to the rear electronics module. What it wants us to do is position our sensor receiver down here just by the fog light, because it will eventually clip onto the bumper. And there are a couple just factory points here for some of the lines that are running down. So So we're just going to gently sort of pass this through and just follow some of the existing factory lines. Just see if we can pass it, behind some of the existing things, just so that we're tracking as best we can to some of the existing mount points. Because when we go to professionally zip tie this all together, that way things aren't just rattling around, and we can still access everything that we need to access down here if we ever need to do any other repairs and not have this wiring loom be in the way. So we're just going to gently sort of pass it through here, because we'll eventually want to secure it. This way we can just keep everything nice and connected. We'll just pass this behind our horn, and I think we can just kind of let that hang out here, because we do need it to come out for the bumper a little bit, and then once it plugs into the bumper, it'll just sit along the front here. But I think this will give us enough room to sort of secure everything. Might just take a couple inches. I think we'll have plenty of room going back and forth. But before we go any further, what we're going to do is we've just slid the grommet on from the firewall. We just put a hole in it, but this is pretty much electrical taped back, I think, just to give us a little bit of waterproofing. But we're just going to follow this factory loom, because we'll be able to zip tie it all. We'll go underneath our strut bar, and then what it wants us to do is really pass it between, and we got plenty of slack here and all that good stuff, but we're just going to pass it between this. I think we're going to actually go underneath this little bar here, but before we do that, I'm going to get you guys a better view of what that looks like over here. But what we're going to do is just I think eventually pass this underneath this bar. In order to do that, do I really want to unwrap the whole thing? Is there any way to pass it under as is? We also don't want to twist it in any way, because it is sort of feeding out and feeding up without having any twists or kinks. And we don't want to break off any of our electrical receptors, so it will eventually have to come out of its nice curled pattern. And since we're going to have to pull it through the firewall, it's okay if we just get this going through here. This is just for organization. I think this is a little bit OCD, but I think it's better than the alternative, which is wires running all over your engine bay, you not remembering, or someone else who's in the area not knowing. All right, now we got that. We're eventually going to just run this down there and then through the firewall. But in order to do that, what we're actually going to do is just put this up for now, just so we're not stepping on it, we don't get caught on it. And with that out of the way, we're actually going to go inside the car, and we're going to use our snake tool in order to pull it through the firewall. We don't actually have to undo the whole thing, but I think just having the little protectors on the pins, pin connectors will just be nice. But I think we'll actually clear everything in there. We don't have to run it underneath anything. We can zip tie it up here, and then we do have that plug out. That'll be super interesting to get back into the firewall, given our position, which is just up here. But let's just go ahead and get this a little bit unwound, see if we can't push one end through the firewall, because then we're going to draw the cable through. But let's go ahead and get that all set up. All right, we might be able to start to see a little bit of our cable puller here in a second. We're really not going to use that much of this thing, but we do have it. It is easier than just shoving some cables through, so you can see daylight. There we go. And we see it on the other side. Okay, we are at least through. I feel like people are going to watch this and be like, why did you struggle so long to get this small green cable through? The end is off. We should be able to at least pull it through now. And remember, this is just to pull it through the firewall. And I think that because we're going to follow this cable down once we get it in here and then zip tie it down there, hopefully. And then there's a natural wire loom down there that we can potentially zip tie again and then just pass it through. All we need to do now is get our wires hooked up to this so we can pull it back through. Essentially, we're just going to put the pins on this side as we pull it through, and this will pass through our firewall and not damage any of the pins. All right, nothing fancy here. We just sort of wrap the end of our wires together just so that the tips don't get damaged, even though it should go up in this plastic. But what we're going to do is just push it through, give it a little pull down here, and then just twist it through this a couple times, and that'll just help prevent the wire from accidentally sneaking back once we start to fish it through. But once we get a couple wraps on here, we'll just pull our cap down. Make sure that's nice and tight. Should be pretty good there. Gently pull it through the firewall. And we are through. And we can just, I think, stand here and help feed it through so it doesn't get tangled, and our grommet is on the correct side, which is great. So that is that. Because we're gonna sort of push it down a little bit, I think we're gonna try and leave the grommet out for now, and we're just gonna mock up where just give ourselves a little bit of slack up here. We did leave some down there. I think there's plenty, but we're just going to run it to the end of the car and just see how close we are to the rim. All right, for reference, our hole is up there. It is above this large wiring loom here. It just is a little bit up and above. It's really hard to see in there. I had a difficult time actually punching through it and figuring it out. There's a small round grommet and there was a round grommet on the other side. Possible that had I taken out the glove box, I would have had better success, but it was almost a blind hole on this side and a fixed sort of grommet on the other. So I pulled the other grommet out and then was able to get through some of the firewall here, but we're gonna go on the other side and I'll just show you what that grommet out looks like, and then we're just gonna fish our tool through so we can pull the entire wire harness through. And if you can see that small grommet just between that harness that we saw on the inside, there's a hole there now, and that's where we're going to snake through our wires to go back to the rim, but it's just above that large firewall harness. All right, and now we're with the new bumper. We're going to go ahead and start to install some of the parts from the old bumper, as well as some of the new parts that we have for this. So we're going to take our center nose support, gently just push it in the bottom, and then just clip it into place. That'll provide some stability for our grills. And you may notice that a couple of things are just a little wet. I just washed them down really to just get any of the sort of crud that might have been on them during removal. So that's why you might see them be a little wet. But we are going to just gently push in everything from the back. Hear everything click in. Here we go. It's one kidney. Perfect, that's those. Next we'll go ahead and put in our fog light grills. And we did go ahead and buy real M Sport ones, partially because the ones that came with the kit, although they looked pretty good, we just wanted that authenticity. I think This is a little bit more matte than sort of what came. And this is where you may want to use a plastic mallet in order to sort of gently put in the grills themselves. This is really just to ensure that you get all the plastic clips attached, because it is a little difficult sometimes in order to sort of push them in and you don't. Perfect. All right. All right, that one's under. Looks pretty good. Next, what we can go ahead and do is install our fog light retainer housings. These also keep some shape to the bumper itself. This one looks like this is the right hand side. Let's do a little test fit here. Yep, okay. Perfect. And there are just 2 screws that this will use in order to stay in place. We're just going to be doing some hand tightening on these just so that we don't over tighten, damage, strip out, pull, especially because this is into plastic. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, just hand tight for now. Those will be the 2 clips that we get our fog light housing into. Perfect. Perfect. Go one of 2 ways here. I think we're going to go with inserting the center support before the center grill before. That was easier than the outsides. I think that's just because when the bumper comes in the box, these are just curled in a little bit. It did come in a big box, so it's not like these are one of the rolled bumpers, but that'll at least make it maybe a little bit more difficult on the outside. You can see there's a little bit of edge here. That'll just come around. We just we'll make sure not to over tighten the housing up here, and similarly up here, and give ourselves a little bit of flexibility. But it does, I think if I remember correctly, these don't actually go down into the grill, just these outer ones. So we'll still be able to flex this a little bit even when we have the fog lights themselves on. So, and these just have 2 posts that they sit in. There we go. Mock up where our headlight is supposed to be. Good. There we go. Learned on the first one. All right, so now we're back in the trunk next to the rear electronics module, or the REM. We're going to be taking off A174 star 14B, which is our left and outer. You actually see our retrofit for the rear PDC on here already. Makes sense that the front PDC will go here as well. We've got our wires organized just so that we can plug them in one at a time. Green and white will go to 42, brown and white will go to 36, blue and red will go to 53, blue and black will go to 40, brown and blue will go to 41, and blue and green will go to 52. The wires are actually pretty easily distinguishable. Really, there's only one main green, one main brown. I have a couple dominant blues, and then one sort of blue-green one, which is pretty obvious. But among the blue wires, we've got them spaced out. We're going to go ahead and remove this, and then pull the connectors apart, and then be able to get our pins in. So with that, these are just simply done by pushing in the tab and pulling up the receptacle. Once the receptacle backs out, that will reveal our housing. And this is always the fun part of getting these out, but I do have 2 trim tools here, which I think have helped in the past. Done this enough where I should just easily have something that helps me with this, but it always seems to be some level of self-discovery here with these things. Come on, little receptacle. There we go. And we are by on both of them. We can just push them down a little bit from the top. That way they just slide out nice and easy. And then we can put our receptacle to the side. The nice thing is there really only are one way you can put these back in, and then the little retaining clips are at the bottom, so pretty easy to remember. But we are going for 48 first for our green and white, so we do just need to figure out which one that is first. All right, I think we're all on the brown one. All right, I see 43 on my left, 47, 48 is this first blank one just off the side here. So we've got green and white to 48. So we'll just make sure we slide this in gently. So you just gotta be really careful with these. I thought that would just slide in nicely. The other ones look a little smaller. I wonder if these are just a slightly bigger size. It just doesn't seem to want to go. It feels like this is a bigger, that seems too tall and proud. Are these the right size? Let's just compare them to some of the other ones that we have that we know we've plugged in. It's interesting. That slid right in, and that's an official BMW one, although this is a retrofit cable. So with that, these are too big to put into the receptacle. So we are going to go ahead and try to do a repair. We looked through our parts bin just to see what we had. We had a couple things that we could try. We've got the a repair kit that we bought for a universal housing. This sort of little bag comes with 6 of these small connectors and then an extra housing unit. But since there are 6 of these and 6 wires in our pack, what we're going to try and do is just cut off the bigger pins, get the wire up and in here. There's just one crimp point and then one little place where you twist around the wire. And I did test, and these do fit into our receptacle. So this repair kit is potentially the best option. The other thing that we have is I've got a couple extra wires. This is the same size. It fits in that receptacle. I've just cut it off. We can cut these here, plus expose a little bit of wire on our loom, you know, solder them together, and then feed them in. It's a little bulky. The other thing that we have, which we could do, are the BMW mini taps. They're a little bit larger, and since we're trying to keep things, you know, somewhat clean back here, I'll say I'm going to prefer trying to get these little caps on, which are the right size. And I think given that these are probably just a slightly bigger gauge, you know, they'll fit in nice and we'll be able to get them nice and snug. But we're really just going to cut them off at the base here. And you know, the thing I like about using these and just replacing the caps is, we'll just back this off a little bit, give us a little bit more room, and then we'll tape it back up when we're all done, is that these are pretty clean, and we'll be able to keep the wire colors the same. We're obviously just replacing this little end cap, and it's hard to see, but you can sort of see that the ends are a little bit different. The one on the left is from the original looms, just a little bit thicker. Doesn't seem like it has the right receptacle to go in. These have pretty narrow pins. When you look at the other ones that are in already, you know, those are the smaller, tighter ones like this one. So with that, we're just going to get a couple pliers. These aren't going to take much strength, but we're going to cut those off, get these on, strip a little bit of wire, and then hopefully we should just be able to plug them and play. But with that, we're just going to go ahead and get some tools. All right, well, we've got ourselves a little crimping tool. We're going to attempt to put these on. I think the one that's going to work is 2.5 millimeters squared, because on the back side of this crimping tool there's another size. We don't need that much wire exposed. It's kind of maybe 1/4 of an inch. Let's say that's it. All right, well, at least we've got a second pair of hands now. I think what I can do now is sort of hold this clip in place, and at least maybe get these little, all right, here goes nothing. Looks somewhat factory. That's the first one. We're going to try the second one just to see if, you know, maybe starting with the smallest one first will give us the best results. So we're going to keep going with this size because this came in the kit, the original kit. We did buy more today, but I think we're just going to do a couple more, see if we can't just get the rhythm of it. That was the first one, so. And that one I was reusing because I tried it yesterday with some pliers, so maybe a fresh one will also have a slightly different. All right, we're going to go in order, so we are going to do brown next. So we're going to cut this off. Okay. Trim a little bit of this wire. A little better this time. Now we're gonna go with the smallest one first. That one seems really secure. I like that one. Better than the green one, but yeah, that one's pretty good too. I liked that one. All right, I think we're good. All right, so we got green, white going to 48, brown, white to 36, blue, red to 53, blue, black to 40, blue, brown to 41, and green and blue to 52. Green, white into 48, brown, white to 36. Oh, 36 is blue, red, 53. There we go. Blue, black into 40. Perfect. Blue, green into 52. Perfect. That is our REM. Now we can put our housing back on and plug it in. That clips down. I think we're going to code. So we're just going to go in here and disconnect our iDrive just so we can have a little bit more access inside to connect our new electronics module, which will give us the sensor button to turn it off. So we're just going to pull out a couple of these trim pieces. We already had that loosen. We're going to need to get behind this, and I think this just pops up with two little tabs, so that one shouldn't be too difficult. There we go. It's out. Disconnect there. We are also going to take up our e-brake handle because we need access under there. And that way we can expose the cables behind the ICM. Really hoping we don't have to pull out this whole thing. Ah, I see it now. This is a wraparound. It's one of those plugs, so I think we'll actually just be able to depress, pull the latch back, and then gently pull it out, and hopefully. And okay, in our instance, we actually don't have, we don't have anything on pins 1 or 2, so we're gonna have to transfer the entire pigtail over. So they do send it to you pre-assembled, and it looks like green and yellow going 1, green and blue going 2. So this is just a simple junction box fry up on the little brake here. There we go. That's up. That one is back. Don't pull too hard. These aren't on. All right. So after consulting the wiring diagram, we are going to go ahead and use both. The green and yellow is going to go from pin 1, which we don't have anything in our current. So we're going to gently push this in. Perfect. Gently slide. Hear those down. Hear those click. Make sure they're in. Great. We're going to close our junction box, and then we're going to just gently push these underneath the plastic around, and then we are going to go around the shift knob. And since we're going to follow factory looms, we do have plenty of room here. We'll eventually professionally zip tie this down, but we do gently want to pass it underneath all of this, behind this plastic housing. How to do that? It'd be easier if we're standing outside the car, viewing. All right, there it is. You can sort of see just in there what we're really dealing with. We just have to move that small piece of plastic to the side, and then there's a black retaining clip just back there. So, all right, well, we've managed to get the receptacle out. We sort of had to pull on the loom just a little bit in order to sort of rock it back and forth. It's really hard to get anything in there. I don't even know if you can really see anything here. Let's go ahead and maybe turn this on. Might help a little bit over time, but what we're going to try and do is apply a little pressure to the top, gently slide these out. These are our two wires that we've got to get in there. I think we're just going to have to struggle with this. I mean, I wish there was just a little bit more room for this receptacle. I mean, the thing is, like, even if I get it out, I think we're really going to be struggling to get it, and I really just don't want to take out the center console all for this, but oh, that's both of them coming out. All right, that was pretty difficult and annoying. Okay, so we are going to take our green and yellow in 28, yellow and blue to 6. Okay, It's clipped in. Let's get this back in. I think we're in. We got it. Perfect. Okay, and now that we're back in, we can start to assemble some of this trim back up. Perfect. You just see in there that the cable is nicely routed, but we'll just zip tie it up to that one sort of post. Perfect. Okay, now we got that secured. It won't flop around. Just go ahead and put this back on. Perfect. All right, and next what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take out the air ducts and the support bar in order to do the front bumper conversion of our M Sport. So this just has a couple 8mm bolts up on the fender liner, and we'll just take this out. A couple clips that are holding these on. Once those are out, there we go on that one. Get that one on as well. Perfect, and then the air duct should just come out. You pull it away from the car. Bar should come off. This is not being reused. And then we need to get our shroud off, which is held in by a couple little clips. Here we go. All right, now we're gonna do our new shroud. And here we do have to thread the needle, because what we're trying to do is pass these up past their little housing and then into that tab that we were having a bit of difficulty getting off. So there we go. Again, this is what we're doing. We're just transferring over our little clip, new one. Then we can get our duct in here. There we are. Our little 8mm back. All right, so we got our nice ducts here. While we wait, we're just going to do a bit of professional zip tying, just so that things aren't bouncing around everywhere. You can hear that the JISPs are not happy with their situation, which really doesn't seem to be all that bad, but BMW. All right, we are also going to mock up our sensors while we have everything open before reinstalling the bumper. This way we can just double check whether or not everything is working. Generally get these where they're supposed to be and just sort of hang them up as best we can. We'll just get our sensors and just put them in for now. Start getting some things back on the car. We will. Slides into place. Perfect. Let's cut those professional zip ties. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right, that is our trunk liner back. All right, well, we're back in the car after plugging in the battery. We're gonna go ahead and start her up so we can do our coding. We're just gonna change the clock so we don't have any error codes. We're gonna close the trunk. All right, we are not throwing any codes, which is always good. Launch Vimmer utility. We're gonna take away 507 and add 508. So we're gonna take away 507, add 508. We're gonna save it. Yes. Coding is complete. All right, and now I see full PDC. We're gonna hit confirm, go into vehicle status, check control, all systems good. Okay, and we're just gonna test out by putting it into reverse that everything looks good. All right, looks like we got all of our parking sensors going, which is great. Camera still works. Obviously it's freaking out because of the front here. Our light is illuminated on our panel and we can turn it off. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and say that retrofit is installed correctly. We are not getting any codes or any errors. Sport works, Comfort works, Eco Pro work. That we can start to tie up some of our loose ends in the wiring down the passenger side, put all the trim back on, and close this puppy up. We'll see you for some of the reinstallation of the trim. We're gonna go for the B-pillar trim first, which is just simply slide into place. Make sure that your seat belt's on the correct side. This will just push up into its own little plastic housing, and there we go, that's 2. Next we can do the little kick panel. This is just held on by 3 little trim bolts and then just 1 sort of retainer up top. There we go. All right. Okay, we got our trim piece here. All right, we're just gonna do a little bit of wire maintenance here as well. Perfect. And then now that we have that on, we can go ahead and put our plastic trim back on. This one tucks underneath the seat. Get this position, pin in, push the seat down. There we go. Put in our seat bolster, and then this just has 2 little metal retaining clips that it sort of sits on. Clip up here, that's back in, seat belt's over top. Seat fits in nicely. We're not gonna close that since we do have the battery disconnect. All right, and now that we're back in the trunk, we are going to go ahead and get our trunk pieces back in. All right, and next we can get some of our trunk carpet back in. Such a silly mistake. Oh, there it goes in perfectly. Okay, I think we can start putting some tabs in to hold this. Perfect. That has an arrow. So, got an oil bag that we're eventually going to get some oil for. We don't have any oil leaks, knock on wood, but just something to keep with the car. Got a pair of jumper cables. For some reason I think this went somewhere, but I can't entirely remember where. Let's go ahead and get that in there. Perfect. Go ahead and gently slide that in at the bottom. Here we go, that is in. Perfect. Gas cap clip here, which I think we're just going to go ahead and get our tray in, which if you don't have one is one of the sort of best things I think BMW makes for your trunk. Just really nice to just keep everything down, as well as to protect the carpet. As you can sort of see, there's a little bit of dust on ours, but really nothing. We are going to cover up some of these electrical connectors that we won't be using. Got some electric tape and just a couple little bags. I guess we'll sort of use those to just cover them up, but disconnect those are away from each other. Perfect. There's at least now tape and some weatherproofing. Then we can just get a little bag for that one. Well, at some point during the last shot, our battery turned off, so don't know if you saw, but we did install the other fog light. Now we're going to do the passenger side, and we did put some zip tie professionalism around this and the other receptacle that we're not using for the pedestrian warning. There we go. nothing crazy because we are plastic into plastic. What we're going to do next is we're going to glue on 2 of our sensors. Since we can't do the middle ones, we're having those painted and finalized. These big holes we got to that you might have seen. Fortunately for us, Extreme Auto in Raleigh is going to paint them for free, which was great considering they painted the bumper and did an amazing job with the paint matching and quality. So they said they would just do those last 2 little bits. So when we get those back, we'll be able to do the middle sensors. But while we wait for that, we are going to get the receptacles on for the end. We did learn our lesson last time. We're going to put the sticker down first. Didn't do too bad there. And then what we can do is gently get our sensor into place. There we go. That looks pretty good. Awesome. That looks pretty good. So this will branch out. Ooh. Good enough. There we go. All right. Well, we finally got our 2 little brackets back from paint. And these do look like they have a specific orientation. I tried to look on a couple photos and it looks like the actual brow, which is sort of this raised edge, faces up. So I've got this one for this hole and then this one for this hole. Place it over our hole. Oh yeah. So we can go ahead and just make sure that it's all lined up. Double check before you really push it down. Oh yeah, it looks great. Side. And go ahead and get it into hole. All right. Might even zip tie it to this. Do a little bit of taping. We're gonna put a sheet down as well, just in case we're moving it on the ground. All right, well, we've prepped the front of the car as best we can. I think we're gonna go ahead and try and line up our bumper. See that we're off just a hair. Push it. All right, let's see if we can't do the other side quick. All right, I think we at least have it started. It's hard to see in there, I can tell you that, at night with the light shining down in your eyes. Well, after legitimately struggling for probably about 30 minutes to get the gap in the nice place on both sides, you'll just have to take my word for it on this side, but it took quite a bit of maneuvering and really pushing, and there's a couple connectors. There's one at the top of the bumper and one at the bottom. The bumper itself has a couple nubs that insert into the top sort of receiver. And in order to get that, you're sort of pushing and pulling on the front of the bumper. It really needs to line up within the headlight in order to sort of come up and back. And that allows you to get those long 8mm screws up into both of the retainers. What we're actually going to do next is see if we can't just line up some of the top before going to the bottom. It is now held in place. I'm actually not worried about it sort of falling, but I think just, making sure that we can sort of get this into a place to hold it. Actually started to line up a little bit better against the headlight. All right, so now that we're under the car, we're gonna go ahead and get some of these 8mm retainers installed. Got a couple that we're just gonna start. I think we're actually gonna do the keys brace next. So we've smartly written the word up on this because after watching where this goes and how it sort of fits in, since we've got the Turner Motorsport skid plate, we're just gonna have to gently guide this in like so. Good news is I think that is the bumper installed. With that, we're at the top of the car. We're gonna go ahead and get our gasket back in so we can gently lower this and just see how our... It's actually a little wide right here. We might have to push this in a little bit. Better. Better. Okay. Looks pretty good. A little better out there. Okay, now we need to adjust this one. So let's get that fender liner back in. Or sorry, let's get this fender liner off. We do that side. We can make any final adjustments. All right. All right, let's get this bolt off since we're up here. screwdriver to apply some pressure so we can at least back it out. Not sure why it's doing that. Need a little pressure behind the bolt. Here we go. Oddly, it looks fine. Not sure why it was being so difficult. And then I think there's one more. I think there's one more. oddly annoying that that would happen. Man. I think that's about as annoying as it gets. Because we're gonna call that good. I like it. Feels good. fender liners for inside the tire. But I had to take them out to adjust the headlights so that the bumper would fit better. And, you know, I don't think this side's ever been cleaned in the 11 years that the car's been on the road, so actually I don't know if I've ever had to take out fender liners on this car. Everything I think I've done, I haven't had to. Just road scum. I don't know there. We're gonna clean that last surface and we are gonna do the final bit of our installation. We've got a brand new to us roundel. Looks pretty good, I think. Really nice. Well, that will complete the installation of our full M Sport rear front bumper, side skirts, as well as the full PDC installation and the rear view camera. Stay tuned for more episodes of the F30 from Chapel Hill series.